Those who could make you believe absurdities could make you commit atrocities. Voltaire. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. That's Socrates. Since the beginning of recorded history, we have philosophers sprinkled throughout time that talk about certain psychological concepts that are so relevant in the world today. A big one for me is emotion and logic cannot coexist simultaneously in a conversation. And also, it is easier to lie to someone than it is to convince them they have been lied to. The most important thing I want people to take away from all of these conversations of spirituality versus organized religion being the way of the future is that spirituality is free. Whatever you feel, your connection through thought and prayer, you close your eyes and you're talking to someone, you're talking to yourself. You're just hoping to connect with the energies out there that give you permission to connect on a positive wavelength or a negative wavelength. Misery loves company. Positive people are driven towards positive people. Like-minded people want to work together, want to live together, want to celebrate together. Whereas misery loves company will keep people down in depression and fighting. And the devil is in the details of distraction. With all of this negativity of 8.2 billion souls worldwide, of $324 trillion of global financial debt, 4,100 plus religions, 7,100 plus languages, for almost 6,000 years of recorded history, there has been plenty of divide and conquer with the people in power in place to help drive a wedge in between souls trying to connect for free. So when it comes to all of these religions, there is a language that predates all religion. That language is Hebrew. And the Hebrew people never celebrated false gods. They never said we will shower Pharaoh with gold, or Caesar, or anybody else that was a clergyman or a middleman in between that connection that burned the scrolls that the Hebrew language first put out. The first God in all books is Elohim. Elohim is Hashem. Hashem is the way that language gave us this idea of a creator. There's all these other prophets. There's a guy named Jesus whose likeness was rebranded and monetized. Jesus preached Kabbalistic teachings before Kabbalah was a word. And I'll add, things from Matthew, things from Luke, things from John, where he talks about I am that I am. That in Hebrew it is Eya Asher Eya. Eya, the spirit of Elohim. When he's spoken to Moses through the flames of the fire, it was spoken into existence. All of these things in the Hebrew language hint that the Hebrew language has a code written within it. And I reference it in the music, I reference it in the books that I've written, I've referenced it in a lot of these videos. Elohim's value is 86 in Hebrew gematria. Hateva, the word for nature, is also 86, symbolizing that God is in nature and nature is the divine creation. Heaven and hell are both on earth, and we have to choose which one we want to live in. So all of these lies about Jesus being the Son of God and the Immaculate Conception, you've got AI. Anybody else in the history of man come from an Immaculate Conception? Or if we remove emotion and allow logic to enter the conversation, does it sound like someone might have made that story up to monetize the likeness of somebody who was preaching the secrets of life for free? Spirituality and our connection to the Creator is supposed to be free. Jesus is not the Messiah because the Messiah is not one person, and that is written in the code in the Hebrew language. The word for Messiah is Mashiach. Mashiach has a value of 358, and so does the word serpent. Nachash is 358. And the only reason these two words share the same code is because it's another symbolic reference to the sign of choice that we have to make as spiritual people. We have to choose our soul over ego. We have to choose Mashiach over Nachash. We have to choose to become one instead of divide and separate and fight to feed our ego. These are undeniable truths written in math, written in code, written in the language, and throughout history, quantum physics is still trying to catch up to how these words vibrate in the physical world, to how the code adds up into the actual spiritual connection that we feel. All these people talk about how they've been saved by this branded man when it's a spiritual feeling that is free. It doesn't matter where in the world you're from. When you come to a life or death situation, or you're abusing things that are diminishing your soul, the alcohol, drugs, sex, food, all these vices that are here for us to physically destroy our soul's connection ability, or ability to connect, I should say. This is our challenge. The hardest thing we ever have to do as individuals is learn to love ourselves for who we truly are. The pros and the cons to become one with ourselves. Echad. True oneness cannot exist without self-love. And when that self-love, ahava equals 13, echad equals 13. One in love equaling the same number of 13 is also not a coincidence. All of these numbers in Hebrew gematria are not a coincidence. Everything else that stems from the Hebrew language that becomes religion. You ever met a Jewish person that says, hey, you gotta come over to being Jewish? No. Anyone that tries to convert, they tell you don't do it, it's too much. We do nothing but hate, and it's really hard to understand if you're not fully committed. No other religion is like that. It's because Judaism is not a religion. It stems from the Hebrew language. They were the Hebrew people before Caesar Hadrian changed Judea to Palestina in 135 CE. Before Jesus was branded, before the Bible came, before 600 years that the Quran came after that. All of these books are man-made where our connection to the Creator is absolutely free. We've been lied to. Things have been monetized. There's 195 different countries all over the world where people believe what they believed before the internet because we didn't have access to all this information. So the fact that we now have access to share and talk about things and use logic instead of emotion, no one wants to admit that they've been lied to, but there has to come a point in time where we look at all of the evidence, all of the facts, all of the scriptures throughout history that all come together and know that spirituality is ultimately the goal. You know, there is spirituality within religion until religion tries to give you answers to questions that spirituality says you don't deserve those answers. The way that we treat each other, the way that we've divided ourselves, the way that people are trying to say it's better to be a follower of Islam, it's better to be Christian, it's better to be Catholic, the Jewish people are the chosen people. There's no chosen people. There's just humanity. And humanity is the chosen species among the animal kingdom to rise above the animal kingdom and elevate the animal kingdom in hopes of creating a bridge of light and connecting to our Creator. We have to do the work. We have to become Mashiach. We have to become one. Look into Luke. Look into John. Look into all these Bible verses to where Jesus literally preached Kabbalistic concepts before Kabbalah was even a word. Kabbalah wasn't a word until the 13th century after the Spanish Inquisition, when everybody was burned if they didn't convert. Religion has been forced upon people for thousands of years, and people live and breathe and die by it. I'm not going to tell the mother who lost 3 sons in the war in Afghanistan that she should stop going to church every Sunday. Her life's journey is her own, or the father, his journey is his own. This is for the next generation of people that are still trying to understand who we are, where we come from, how we got here, how we can get together and find a solution to move forward in peace. Because I don't want to see people suffering in Gaza. Just as much as I don't want to see people suffering in South Sudan or Yemen or Congo or in the cities throughout the United States where people are being stabbed and shot in my own country. This logic has to enter the conversation where obviously no good person wants to see children suffering. You have to see the facts that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Queers for Palestine would be thrown off buildings in Gaza. The churches in Gaza are empty because Christians have been forced out of Gaza by Hamas. The proxies of Hezbollah, ISIS, Houthis, all of these terrorist proxies, they are not countries. Palestine has no prime minister, has no currency, has no history. It's a word that's been put in place to cause divide between more people. Fighting fire with fire is only going to spread the flames further. You know, it's Mike Rappaport and all the people that are fighting for Judaism, you know, Brandon Tatum, I see you guys. You get it. You see the hypocrisy in telling people that Israel's the colonizer when nobody in the world speaks Hebrew. I shouldn't say nobody, but there's less than 14 million Jews, and half of them maybe speak Hebrew. There's billions of Muslims. How is Israel the colonizer? How are they the occupier? These are fake, made-up, mirrored lies and projections. Committing genocide, if Israel wanted to commit genocide, they'd be really good at it. They could push one button and blow up the entire Gaza Strip. Some people are saying, why don't they do that? Because that's not their intention. They do not want to commit a genocide. They are losing their own soldiers trying to get back their hostages. There's enough evidence of Gazawood, of children forced to look like they're suffering while pictures are being taken. You think journalists are being killed? They're terrorists with vests that say press on them. There's so much evidence that it's just being spewed out into the Candace Owens of the world or the Dave Smiths of the world that they've been brainwashed to a point where either they're getting paid or they're just so emotional that they can't take a step back and see the logic in these arguments. The politicians are just as bad as the religious leaders that are trying to monetize war because war is profitable. Religion is profitable. It's also not taxed. So when it comes to removing emotion and allowing logic to enter these conversations, to Israel being the aggressor, we speak English because Britain colonized. There's billions of Muslims because the Ottomans colonized. This has to be the understanding that there is good and there is bad in this world, and we can't allow evil to win. And the only way we stop fighting fire with fire is with the energy of love. Happy Monday. It's a beautiful day, and if it's not, everything happens for a reason. Do what you can to learn how to love yourself. Do what you can to learn how to spread love. Do what you can to avoid the narrative that says somebody else is the aggressor, somebody else is the bad guy. Some people just want to exist. Some people want to build. Some people want to protect. Some people just want to watch the world burn. Not to quote Alfred from Batman, it fits. So take some time, reflect, meditate. The concept of prayer is us just talking to ourselves, giving ourselves the opportunity to connect. So do that. Connect. Communicate. But do it through the intention of love. And you'd be very surprised in where the world starts to turn. Or I should say where the world starts to head in a different direction. Because it could happen overnight. Happy Monday.